On the morning of November the 9th, 2016, Brandon Straka was among the countless Americans shocked and terrified at the election of Donald J. Trump. What Brandon, a gay hairdresser from New York, knew about Trump was that all of his civil liberties will now be seized by the president-elect. A few months later, in January 2017, a friend sent Brandon a video showing how the media had concocted the story about Trump mocking a disabled reporter. While Brandon and much of the world had readily accepted the media's anti-Trump and anti-conservative narrative as truth, Brandon watched the 5-minute video debunking the lie about him mocking the disabled reporter. Brandon was stunned. Something was very wrong. This was a wake-up call that just maybe what he had been told was in fact a lie. After extensive research, Brandon Straka had determined the media complex, along with the Democrat Party, had been in collusion for decades, presenting lies as truth and truth as lies.
And in fact, I even saw another video showing black people who had gone to the Trump rally to support him, and when CNN showed up, they intentionally cut them out of the shot so it appeared that there were only white people there.
He discovered that the LGBT community, blacks, Hispanics, Jews, and other minorities had been sold a bill of goods by the left and were in fact exploited by them, made to feel victims to gain their votes. It was conservatives who believed in what Martin Luther King espoused: judge a man by the content of his character, not the color of his skin. Brandon felt his own awakening so powerful a force that he wanted others to understand what he had learned. Brandon created a video that went viral.
I have watched as the left has allowed themselves to become hypnotized by false narratives and conclusions perpetuated by social justice warriors who misrepresent and misconstrue facts, evidence, and events to confirm their own biases that everyone who does not comply with their prejudicial conclusions and follow their orders is a racist, a bigot, a Nazi, a white supremacist, homophobic, Islamophobic, xenophobic, misogynistic, and alt-right extremist.
Brandon Straka became the leader of a movement that continues to sweep the country. Brandon labeled it #WalkAway. The WalkAway Facebook page has hundreds of thousands of members, each with his or her own story of awakening. Each of these stories reveals a shock at their own discovery about being a pawn, and a huge, sometimes tearful relief at finding others who have made the same discovery.
I don't think that I have been as informed.
I didn't really know any better.
I didn't really get it. And I was just following the crowd.
I was raised Democrat. You just vote Democrat. You know, if you vote, don't vote Democrat.
Always vote Democrat. Straight ballot. Always do it. Straight ticket. Just mark that one box and you're done.
We listen to what we're told. People don't do research anymore.
The #WalkAway community is a powerful one. And what Brandon has done by his own awakening, charisma, and energy is give people a place to share their sadness and a way to move forward. The media certainly took notice. Brandon was interviewed across the media while continuing to gain new followers, new fans, and also notoriety among the left, who started online efforts to marginalize Brandon and anyone who associated with him. From the laughable assertion Brandon and the #WalkAway movement were Russian bots to accusations that Brandon was a racist and a plant to hurt the LGBT community, the left did what they could to undermine his influence. It had an impact. Just within the past few months, Brandon's WalkAway events had been canceled by different venues. Untruths created by the leftist online mobs who could not stand the concept that gays and other minorities, groups traditionally exploited by the Democrats, were walking away from the Democrat Party. The mainstream media also marginalized the WalkAway movement, even as they celebrated terrorist groups such as Antifa, who carry bats and beat up independent gay journalists such as Andy No. While Brandon's events preached love and individual thought, Antifa clamored outside with bike chains, baseball bats, and threatened violence. In what is maybe the most politically divisive time in America since the Civil War, many people would have given up. Brandon became defiant.
You don't have to be afraid. I feel so free knowing that I have a choice because I don't have to stay on one side out of fear. I'm not afraid anymore. I know I'm loved on the right, and I'm not quite as loved on the left as I used to be. But you know what I mean? I no longer fear the Republican Party. I no longer fear conservatives, and that is the most wonderful thing that could happen to a person, I think.
Determined to not allow his enemies to color him and the movement with their projection of hate. He spends every waking hour to ensure everyone can hear the collective voices of the WalkAway campaign. Brandon has not done this for riches or wealth, but to change our culture, and his impact is profound. Hundreds of thousands of people now follow Brandon and the hashtag WalkAway on social media. People across the country are learning the truth about the left's quote-unquote divide and conquer and exploitative tactics and their control over media, and like Brandon, are all walking away. Earlier this month, Brandon, who only walked away a little more than a year ago, opened for the president at his rally in Cincinnati. Brandon has become the tip of the spear of a movement that can and will impact elections. And don't think for a moment the left don't view him as a threat. For they know, as those on the right, Brandon Straka is a game changer. It is because of Brandon's innovative idea in WalkAway, his tenacity, creativity, and charisma in pursuing it, and the effectiveness of this movement that AFA created our Game Changer Award, and we are delighted to present him with it this evening.
It's always challenging following Bill Whittle at the podium. He's doing a great job tonight. By the way, you know you're at a conservative event when you can leave a hashtag WalkAway hat at the lobby out there on a cocktail table, and it emerges 45 minutes later unmolested. That's a great sign. And it's great to be with you at the most important conservative mixer in Southern California in 2019. Great job, Karen. Great job to the American Freedom Alliance, and I share the honor with John Hancock, who, with me, started the Unite IE effort out in the Inland Empire. John, it's been a great ride. It's been great to be your friend. It's been great to help advance the conservative cause with you. You're a great person, and you're a great author. So if you haven't picked up John's books, you need to. You know, I appreciate the opportunity to introduce the person who's the recipient of a brand new award in recognition from the American Freedom Alliance, the Game Changer Award. But before I do, I just wanted to thank each and every one of you, especially those of you who have given to this organization and helped make tonight possible. If the world were right side up, this event would be held at the Kodak Theater and the media would be tripping over themselves to interview the people who have made a difference in this country. These are the people who have been responsible for keeping the light of liberty alive, and the fact that it's not at the Kodak Theater, well, you know the rest of that story. We know that socialism and all of the other isms take us into the cul-de-sac called tyranny circle. Yet academia is producing young brown shirts, modern-day Bolsheviks, and Marxists at rates that make it nearly impossible to reignite that light of liberty and flame of freedom in their minds fast enough to stem the tide. So how do we break that code? How do we make that stop? Thankfully, there are people out there who will seek the truth, who will rise above the groupthink and think for themselves, think critically, right? Analyze and actually question the information that comes across their path, no matter where it leads them. I try to do that every day on our show. These individuals seem like a rarity, mostly because the media gives them absolutely no quarter. We would be hearing about, if Brandon were a Democrat who had left the Republican Party, he would be on MSNBC, CNN, and the mainstream media every single damn night, right? So I'm always looking for the truth as well. And right or wrong, I want to know how people perceive the world around them. So last May, when a 6-minute video crossed my path, I wanted to find out more about the person that did that video. That video, if you haven't seen it, and if you haven't seen it a dozen times, you need to watch it again, because it documents a person who made that very journey, who made the journey from a place that we know, involves the falsehoods that the left likes to advance. Something special was happening, and on July the 1st, I had the opportunity to actually have a conversation with the honoree of tonight's Game Changer Award. That hour-long conversation, at the end of it, I said, you know what? I think within 48 hours, you're going to get an invitation to the Tucker Carlson show. On July the 2nd, Brandon Straka was on Tucker Carlson, and that week, he was on almost every single main program on Fox News. And I didn't say that because of my brilliance. I said that because of this message, because of what this guy had documented. And I want to tell you, this guy is a political entrepreneur. One of the greatest tributes I can give to Brandon Straka is that he stepped out not knowing what was going to unfold as a result of this video. He just did it. It was inspired within him to write this video. I loved learning about how the script for this video came to you as you were jogging in New York City. And he did that video. And that video launched a movement. And that video has been responsible for many people beginning to understand what the left cannot deliver. And I got to tell you what a privilege it was to have that conversation with you, Brandon, because from that, here's the one thing I will tell you about Brandon. He had no idea what he was getting ready to step into, but since then, he's been an amazing steward of the responsibility that's been handed to him, and he has taken it to places that I don't think he even began to imagine. It has been an amazing ride for you, and you have done an amazing job of shepherding the #WalkAway campaign forward and making it what it is today. And Brandon, it's my pleasure to have been given the opportunity by Karen to introduce you and to introduce this brand new award, the Game Changer Award, because you are changing the game. Thank you, Brandon. Come on up. So I was asked to read what this award says. The American Freedom Alliance is proud to present the Game Changer Award to Brandon Straka for his courageousness, oh crap. I gotta get out the Rick Perry helpers. His courageousness, innovative and inspirational founding and leadership of the #WalkAway movement, presented at the Hilton Los Angeles Universal Hotel, Sunday, August 18, 2019, almost a year after you began this amazing journey. Brandon, congratulations.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Don. That's radio legend Don Dix, good friend of mine, love him. I didn't expect to be such a mess tonight. This normally doesn't happen. I usually am pretty well composed, but I don't know what to tell you. I just feel incredibly moved and incredibly touched this evening. There are several key words that seem to be a part of this evening:
conscience, heroes, freedom, American freedom. The hero part, I don't know about that so much. I can tell you that I want to accept this award tonight on behalf of all of the patriots in the WalkAway campaign, because each of them is a hero to me. I started this campaign not really knowing if anybody would really support me or step up or be a part of it. I felt like I had to do it because conscience is exactly what led me away from the Democrat Party. In fact, it was their lack of conscience that pushed me away from the left. For me, I was a Democrat voter my entire life by default. I considered myself a defensive voter because I was so afraid of the Republican Party, and I was so terrified of conservatives. I didn't feel comfortable with any of you, and I certainly didn't think it was possible that any of you could ever love me. We love you. I love you too. I love you very, very much. When Donald Trump got elected, I was scared to death. I was absolutely terrified. Now, being in the position that you all are in, I'm sure, understandably, that's a very funny thing, because you have the benefit of knowing that the media's lying, the liberal media's lying, and that the things that they're saying about you are not true, but I didn't know that. And most people on the left do not know that, still don't know that. And so I thought that half of America had elected the second coming of Hitler. I thought somehow half of America had lost their moral fiber and their conscience, and that they had elected an overt racist and bigot and homophobe. And as the video pointed out, it wasn't until somebody, a staunch Christian conservative, whom I've had many battles with over the years on Facebook, took the time to reach out to me and asked me, have you seen this? And showed me that video debunking that Trump mocked a disabled reporter. It was the first time in my life that a light bulb went on in my head, and I thought to myself, my God, is it possible that CNN doesn't tell the truth sometimes? That doesn't make any sense. But it sent me on a very long journey of research. And that long journey of research ultimately culminated in the discovery of many things. Many things, but the thing that was the most impactful to me was that I discovered that if you're a minority in America, if you are a black or brown or LGBT person, even a woman, if you're Jewish, the Democratic Party and the liberal media are lying to you right to your face time and time again. But I think worst of all, they are manipulating fear, and they are manipulating everything that scares you to make you believe that there is no place for you in this country except for with them under their watchful eye over on the left, that there is no seat at the table for any of you over on the right. Well, let me tell you, when I discovered that they were manipulating me and scaring people like me and scaring other minorities, it pissed me off so badly. I sometimes wonder if they regret pissing me off quite so badly. And I've said before, hell hath no fury like a gay man scorned by the Democrat Party. Because this is what happens. As Dawn said, I was jogging one day. I made a decision that I wanted to be outspoken about how I feel. I've been in the closet before. It's not fun. It's no way to live. Now a lot of you, I think, can identify with that feeling. It's not great. It's a terrible way to be. It's un-American, and nobody should ever have to be afraid in this country to simply tell the truth or be authentic about how they feel, what they believe in, or who they are. I was jogging one day trying to figure out how it was that I was going to communicate my message, and I felt like I'd been struck by lightning. These words flashed in my mind. Once upon a time, I was a liberal. And I swear to you, that script downloaded itself into my brain. And I ran home and I wrote it all down as quickly as possible, and then I shot that video. And I thought to myself, this is good. This is very, very good. But initially I was going to just put it out so that everybody knew once and for all how I felt, because I was so tired of my friends leaving me one by one. Every time I would say something mildly pro-Trump or mildly pro-conservative, and I just thought, to hell with it. I'm just gonna rip it off like a Band-Aid and put it all out there in a 6-minute video. But I thought, no, there's something more here, because I am not the only person who's feeling this way. I know that if I'm feeling this way, there are hundreds of thousands, if not millions of others who are feeling exactly the same way, and they're just waiting for someone else to be the first person to say the emperor is not wearing clothes. So I said, I'm going to put this video out and I'm going to use the hashtag WalkAway, and I'm going to create the WalkAway campaign. We're all going to walk away from the Democratic Party together. We will create a network of support. But I also knew over the year that I had walked away and I got to know you and finally stopped being afraid of you and stopped being afraid of the Republican Party. I thought to myself, my God, if other people knew you the way that I have come to know you, they would love you too. It's time for you guys to speak up. It's time for the silent majority to become unsilent. Tell the world who you are, tell the truth, and let's take back the narrative of what it means to be a conservative. And so let me wrap up quickly by saying what started out as a social media campaign now has 500,000 followers on all social media platforms. We have tens of thousands of testimonials, written and video testimonials from people who both walked away from the Democratic Party, but those who walk with those who walk away. That's you guys. That's your job. Let the people who are walking away know that there is a seat at the table on the right for Black and brown and LGBT and Jewish Americans and women, that we want all people to join us over here and embrace their individual identity. Let go of the groupthink. Let go of the identity politics. Let go of the tribal mentality. And for God's sake, let go of the violence and the vandalism and the hatred and the division of the left, and join us in civility and peace and freedom on the right. I know that many of you are afraid, and I understand why. I understand completely. Many of you have too much to lose, lifelong careers that you've been building, relationships perhaps with children or grandchildren. I understand completely. But there are bold freedom fighters in this country, like myself, like Joy Vila, like Blair White, people like this who will be your voice. Let us be your voice. And so I want to close this out tonight by just a really quick little exercise. Just a quick, first of all, can everyone just take a deep breath? And now close your eyes. And just very quickly, I want you to envision something. I want you to envision that it's Election Day 2020, the day after Election Day 2020, as a matter of fact. And you wake up, and your president is Kamala Harris. or Bernie Sanders. Or Pocahontas. Okay? I want you to envision living in America where your taxes are going to go up to 50, 60, 70% or higher. I want you to envision America where conservatives no longer have a voice whatsoever, that there is no freedom of speech, there is no First Amendment, and they're coming for your Second Amendment, and that we no longer have a national identity because we're going to open our borders to anybody and everybody who wants to come into this country. I want you to think about that. And I want you to think about what you would give in that moment to be able to reverse it and take it all back and stay on the course that we're on right now under President Trump. What would you give? And then what I want you to think about next is what you will do today to support freedom fighters like me, like the WalkAway campaign, like this gentleman Bill who just spoke earlier before. I can't tell you the number of times I've sat before people who are millionaires and billionaires with tears in their eyes saying to me, what you're doing has the power to save this country. And I say, can you help us? And then they kind of sheepishly walk out of the room. Guys, you've got to support people like me, you've got to support people like Bill, and that means giving us your dollars, it means giving us your support and letting us be your voice if you cannot be your own voice. We will do the work for you, but we need your support. I encourage you to go to walkawaycampaign.com or text the word WalkAway to 51400 and let us do the work for you and let us save this country. I love you all so, so much, and I thank you from the bottom of my heart for this award. Thank you.
There are people who delight in telling the truth and watching other people's heads explode. And that is who we have with us this evening. Please help us welcome Katie Hopkins.
I got up the stairs without falling over. Thank you. So first up, I've been asked by the organisers to make a serious announcement on behalf of the American Freedom Alliance. Don Dix, where are you, Don? Yeah, Don has made quite a grave error, so I'm here to apologise on his behalf. Don, you gave the Game Changer Award to Brandon Straka. It was supposed to go to Brandon Straka's eyebrows. Just working with unprofessionals, I don't know. What can I say? Amateur mistake. Anyone would think you worked in radio. Now, before we get started, I should make clear this is not a British tan, nor am I trying to pull a Rachel Dolezal or an Elizabeth Warren Pocahontas. I'm not trying to claim ancestry of anything other than my own and cozy up to the NAACP, no. I became bronze like this splendid turkey during my family holiday on a little Spanish island called Mallorca, which I left to be with you all today. And, oh, not at all. Hey, I have 3 children, I'd much rather be here. My vacation was a learning experience. Firstly, I have learnt that Spanish islanders are very much like New Yorkers. They do not believe in waiting nor queuing. A moment's hesitation is like death to a Mallorcan. If you don't ride your goddamn shopping cart like you're in the Indy 5000 on amphetamine, you are dead to a Mallorcan housewife. Secondly, I've learned that when booking your 3 curious and outspoken children into a hotel on the last unspoiled Mallorcan beach paradise, one should always check that it is not, in fact, a full frontal nudist beach. I've never seen so much flesh, and I used to come from a farm. But Mum, why is that lady's bottom so... Yes, thank you, son. It is my great pleasure to be with you all at the 13th American Freedom Alliance Hero of Conscience Awards on this happy occasion. And we do have much to celebrate. America has a record number of job openings, which is great news if you've recently been fired for telling the truth. We've got the lowest unemployment rate in America since 1969, the lowest black unemployment rate since records begun, and the narrowest gap between black and white unemployment in history. Neil Irwin of the New York Times said, "We've run out of words to describe how good the job numbers are." That's from the New York Times. And there's more good news too. I finally got to meet Mr. Brandon Straka, or Mr. WalkAway, as I like to call him. I like to imagine him saying it in the way that one might talk to a small dog. Walk away, walk away. Brandon was a hairstylist, an aspiring actor, and he voted for Clinton. The first 2 offences are forgivable. Many of you will know I get nervous around plastic surgeons, hairdressers, and dentists. I fear they will be observing my suboptimal British assets with disdain. At a party just the other day, a plastic surgeon of tabloid fame actually started describing what he would do with my aging British face if I let him at it. He all but got out his blue marker pen and started marking me up. Haggard, my mum calls it. I told him what I would do with a certain part of his anatomy if he didn't walk away from this fabulous old dragon and fast. And it's good to laugh. I'm conscious that we spend much of our time together being very serious about the hard truths that we face. Our Western culture is threatened like never before, and I'm cognizant that I bring many of those hard truths from the road in the less friendly parts of this planet that I travel amongst. I sometimes wonder if I've become a bit of a doom monger. People see me coming and think of decay and death, like the Grim Reaper, but in sequins. But not tonight, oh no. Tonight, I am the bearer of good tidings of great joy. Angel Katie. That's not what either of my two husbands so far have said. And the good news from across the pond is that Britain is making a comeback. Yes, all four corners of it. From England to Northern Ireland, from Scotland to Wales, Boris Johnson is putting the mojo back into Britain. And if he can make it through the next few weeks, I believe there is hope for my country. And he came out swinging. On his first day in office, he fired every single anti-Brexit MP in the cabinet. And he fired a few sitting on the fence as well, for good measure. The message, don't sit on bloody fences. He has infuriated weak women, which I love. He dropped the investigation into a jolly good fellow MP whom I know, who removed a troublemaking climate change protester, a female, from an event by her neck. What other body part should he have grabbed? No answers from you, Donald Trump, thank you. And to cap it off, he's pissed off the number 10 Downing Street cat, Larry, by planning to bring his dog into number 10. But you know, true to his best of British beliefs, he brought fresh faces to the cabinet. He brought Priti Patel, an Indian lady known for her support for the death penalty. He brought Sajid Javid, a Muslim gentleman and a defender of the free market. James Cleverly, a black conservative who has been pro-Brexit from the start. But the diverse cabinet of Boris Johnson isn't good enough for the left. Oh no. These migrants or minorities are no longer diverse enough. The left has called them Uncle Toms, said they no longer have the right to represent. Apparently, if you are a minority, you are not allowed to be conservative or successful, as evidenced by Biden the other day, who said, and I quote, "Poor kids can be just as successful as white kids." The only way you know that guy is not in a deep vegetative state is the fact that he's dribbling. Boris has entered office determined to reduce the shocking crime rates in London, where murders are at the highest for a decade. Last week, a police officer was scalped with a machete during a routine vehicle stop and search, and another was dragged to his death under a car. And still, we only equip our officers with the equivalent of Smints and a hand sanitizer. Boris is putting 20,000 extra police officers on the streets. He's adding 10,000 extra police places and prison places, and extending powers to stop and search. Now, if you look dodgy, if you look weaselly, or if you look damn right stupid, you can be stopped and searched. Sadiq Khan is in for a rough ride. I fear it may be a little too late to change the trajectory of my country, where demographics alone dictate that I will be a minority white by 2035, and Islam will be the dominant religion in a decade. You know, I have 3 kids under 15. My Muslim friends all have 15 kids under 3. I'm kidding. I don't have any Muslim friends. Mohammed is the number 1 name in the UK. You want to guess what the number 2 name is? Muhammad. And I'm not joking. It's serious. But to stabilise the good ship Britannia and shore her up from sinking in front of our very eyes, Boris is making all the right moves. We are now just 74 days away from Brexit being delivered in the United Kingdom. After 3 years of waiting, Boris is determined to leave the EU on the 31st of October and take back control of the UK from the EU bureaucrats who currently tell us what to do. I couldn't be more happy. London's head will explode on the 31st of October, and I want to be right there to see it happen. People say to me, who's better? Who's better, Boris or Trump? Well, Trump, obviously. Trump has better hair. And Melania. And he retweets my tweets. Not to mention, he has buildings with his name on. My mum has a pair of Trump slippers. She has bunions and arthritis, and she dances around her bungalow in those slippers. Now that is ambition. I stayed at the Trump Hotel a month or so back to give a talk to the Republican women of Virginia. Hands up if there's a Republican woman of Virginia here in this place. Have any of you ever met the Republican women of Virginia? Are you one? Oh my life alive. We have one in the room. We need a round of applause. I love those ladies. Those ladies have the Star-Spangled Banner printed on their bathroom tissue. They love Trump like Silicon Valleyers love themselves. Put Republican women from Virginia in a Trump hotel, and it's like giving sugar to Canadians. They just can't handle that shit. I survived. I'm a survivor of the Republican women of Virginia. Me too. Or as I say to feminists, screw you. I'm recently returned from a trip to Israel where I was hosting viewings of my new documentary, Homelands, which is about the anti-Semitism problem in France, in Germany, in the UK, because many of my Jewish friends are being forced to leave, forced out by Islamist hate. But you know, Israel has so many things so very right. Firstly, it told Rashida Tlaib and Ilhan Omar they were not welcome in their country. Which does kind of beg the question why America has not yet done the same. Secondly, it's built a bloody great big wall around itself, 3 meters thick and 8 meters high, tall enough so that a man cannot climb it and fall without doing himself serious injury. And it extends below ground as well to stop the terrorist rodents burrowing their way through. 3 meters thick. That's thicker than AOC. Israel makes families accountable for their children as well. If your Palestinian son attacks an Israeli, the IDF will tear down his home, and they will blow up your house too for raising such a beast. And I say that is a glorious, glorious thing. And finally, Israel is committed to national service, not as some kind of conscripted servitude or penitence, but as a shared endeavour to help build a country hardwiring its values into its young. Britain has just had its 9th year of military decline. Why cannot we give our young people such endeavour when they are lost and looking for purpose? There is much we could learn. At one point, I was hauled onto an Israeli tour bus by my host because someone thought it would be fun for me to give an alternative tour guide service. My Jewish friends were not quite prepared for Hopkins. But I am proposing that the American Freedom Alliance starts its own politically incorrect bus tours of America. Woohoo! Through enemy territory we go. Pelosi's Skid Row. De Blasio's New York nightmares. Are you up for it, Brandon? The official line in Israel is that the Dead Sea is the most dead thing on the planet. Jewish people have clearly never met Joe Biden. And the Dead Sea is also 200 metres below sea level, so low. Jewish people have clearly never been to DC, so much lower. But of course, our fight is real, and it is serious, and it is urgent. In our efforts to fight back for our country and our culture, I fear the lowest blows are not the murderous acts of terror we face, but the slow death of a country meted out by journalists, editors, and their supplicant news anchors dealing with misinformation, disinformation. The New York Times changing a front page headline because its readership found it to be insufficiently anti-Trump. The pivot from Russia to race that's now upon us. Morphing the truth of patriotism into white nationalism and then white supremacy before our own eyes. Declaring that if you are white and proud of your country, you're a white supremacist. If you're black and proud of your country, you're a white supremacist and an Uncle Tom. They're just conflating statements, without reason. I'm a woman with short hair, but I'm not a footballer. Or a lesbian, and I wore heels tonight to prove it. I'm a proud nationalist, and I am white, but I'm not a white nationalist. I want all people of every colour to be proud of the nation they call home. My children even own a black goldfish. We call him Bernie Saunders because he keeps his gold well hidden. We can also observe the difference in the media playbook with terrorist attack by Islamists versus terror attacks committed by a white guy with a gun. The response to Islamist terror is sadly well rehearsed in my country. Thoughts and prayers, a candlelit vigil in a public space, stage a Muslim solidarity event, Muslim women handing out roses, turn off the lights on the Eiffel Tower, warn that the main concern is now Islamophobia and hate crimes towards Muslims. Contrast this with the response to terror committed by a white guy with a gun. Blame Trump. Whatever happened to those thoughts and prayers? Blame the NRA. This was where the candlelit vigil bit was supposed to happen. Demand weapons confiscation or a weapons ban. Well, hold on a minute. Last time we just turned off the lights on the Eiffel Tower. No one talked about banning trucks from jihadis. Blame all white people. Call all white supremacists. Make white bad. And it's this last point that's most stark. After Islamist terror attacks, we are warned repeatedly, specifically, not to blame all Muslims, to the point a representative of the religion of peace feels confident enough to say of 9/11, some people did something. But after a white guy goes on a shooting rampage, all whites are to blame. Celebrity faces start apologizing for their whiteness. It's not enough to simply observe the hypocrisy of the thing. We have to resist this narrative being hardwired into us that white is bad, all other good. George Orwell's Animal Farm, 4 legs good, 2 legs bad. The simplicity of the mantra is revealing in itself, and there is no doubt it is working. Take the mosque attack in New Zealand, filmed with the precision of a professional cameraman. In March, 51 Muslims sadly lost their lives in a mass shooting event in 2 mosques in New Zealand. By July, the government was collecting in their guns. We can all agree the attack was horrific, but the response in country was so geared towards Islamic supremacy, it could have been crafted by the caliphate themselves. Synagogues and churches closed their doors. The Prime Minister and female politicians covered their heads. Muslim greetings and prayers replaced the country's own. The Islamic call to prayer was boomed out across the country and in Trafalgar Square, too, in the heart of London. Mass mourning events attended by British royalty. Anyone involved in the incident given immediate citizenship and all of their family members. The parliamentary prayer was changed to remove the words Jesus Christ in order to be more inclusive. And a weapons ban was immediately imposed, and New Zealanders were told to hand in their weapons, which many dutifully did. For the cost of 51 Muslim lives, New Zealand became an Islamic outpost, prepared to cover its women, disarm its citizens, and change its prayers. If I were working for the Islamic Caliphate, not only would I be in real deep cover, but in a war against Christians and Jews, how would I assess such an outcome? It is incredible how willingly New Zealand knelt down, just as Britain continues to cow down before a religion seeking to change it beyond all recognition. How easy we relinquish our freedoms, and yet how hard the fight to recover them once lost. In Hong Kong, protesters gather in their millions to protest against the new law forcing extradition to mainland China for those suspected of committing an offence. Protesters endure beatings, tear gassed, arrest, imprisonment, snatch squads, the real threat of another Tiananmen Square. And yet today, 1.7 million individuals still gathered to fight back for lest their freedom be taken away. And yet we seem to roll over, supplicant, proffering up our weapons, bowing our head to some guilt we were told we were supposed to feel. 2 legs bad, 4 legs good. America must fight right now with the determination of the protesters in Hong Kong, taking smoke grenades to the face or batons to the body. We must fight with the immediacy of those in South Africa preparing to make a last stand or to die in their boots for the love of their land. And yet we wait. They take our freedom to speak without penalty. Another voice is disappeared, and yet we wait. They ban weapons and confiscate guns wherever there is strength, and yet we wait. Will we wait as their installed leaders change our prayer book and our anthem, and new Americans imported for their votes applaud and vote them all the way to the mosque and the multi-faith prayer room on Capitol Hill? The time is now. The time for self-protection is gone. At Sandhurst, the Royal Military Academy, it's, I guess, the equivalent of West Point, but just better. We're pushing my luck. You can go off people, Katie, is what my father said. We were trained under the Academy Serve to Lead. By serving our soldiers well, we earned the right to lead them into battle. But I think the Israeli Special Forces have it better. Follow me. I will only ask of you what I am willing to do myself. Follow me no matter what. Follow me even if it is painful. Follow me even when it hurts to be cut off by friends, to be ostracized by one's own children, to be forced out from places where we used to belong, asked to find another church or synagogue, suddenly uninvited. Follow me. And you know, that's why we're here tonight. It's why tonight matters, because we have people with us, all of you, who will say exactly that. What we all try to do is a very lonely thing. It's so important to be together so you can all look around this room and know that you are not alone. We are many, and together our voices are heard. Karen says, each of us here believes in the unparalleled force for good that is Western civilization. That is our heritage, whether we were born here or not. For this unifying message, she has paid her dues at the toll booth of wrong thought. Her employer failing to renew her contract for her well-loved job, as we know. And make no mistake, as Karen herself has alluded to, and Bill, and many others, there are times leaders like Karen will have doubted themselves, stood in their kitchen in their pajamas, perhaps in tears, hurting at the unkindness of it all, wondering why they didn't just shut up and take the easier road. Was it all worth it? It's much easier to swim downstream with everybody else. But you know, tears dry and doubts can be assuaged, but the threat we face cannot. What we may lose in our lifetime, in my case, they have come from my jobs, my family home, social services came for my children, and a couple of jihadis came for my head. I told them to bugger off. It's nothing compared to what our children may lose in their lifetime. Their flag, their anthem, our culture. What country will we leave the little ones of our little ones? What good wealth in this life if there is paucity of culture for the next? What good is being liked by everybody if those who hate us will take what our grandfathers helped build? Karen is not waiting. She says, follow me, as she takes this fight for freedom to those who would see it stolen from us. She says, follow me intelligently, in 4 languages, with a bit of astrophysics thrown in for interest. She says, follow me with enthusiasm and personality, boosting our champions and refueling advocates for our cause to fight on, reminding them they are not alone. She says, follow me with organization and rigor, with every event she organizes and every person she infuses with her excitement for the cause. Karen says, follow me, kindly and with a smile. And it's in this spirit that we all try to be the very best we can be as we lead the fight for freedom. As Brandon asks people kindly with his eyebrows, will you walk away? It's a question he's asking, you know. Karen's activism was not appreciated by the few at her school. But you know what, Karen? It is appreciated here by the many. We want to show people the way brightly. When they go low, we want to be already on the high ground, asking them to come with us, to walk away. We are not judged by school administrators, but by history. And history will show us on the side of the right. Karen Siegmund is a hero of conscience, and she's a hero of mind. She says, follow me. I say, let's go. Thank you very much indeed.